Now, I can't say that there has been a time where I just flat out didn't want to draw. But there have been tons of times where I've chosen to do something else over drawing. Or even times where I tried to draw but nothing worked, so I stopped drawing out of frustration. And of course, times where I've thought about giving up altogether. Life outside of art exists, after all, and it can be complicated and difficult. Yet, despite these difficulties and the doubts, I am here. We are here, passionately making art when our minds and bodies allow us. Only ever always a few steps from the breakthrough that will remind us why we love doing what we do. It's a cycle, a rolling coaster of ups and downs, only we are the architect to this ride and we build it as we go. But before I say another overly poetic line of some vaguely deep diction, let's talk about how we might be able to stay motivated to make more art, more often, and more consistently. Man, I hope what I just said makes sense. First, I would like to say that you cannot always rely on staying motivated when pursuing a career in a creative field. Sometimes you will just have to force yourself to work and get things done. Also, this is not a tutorial or even a tip video, it's more of a discussion with myself. I don't have any specific answers that will be a sure solution, just ideas and experiences that I've been thinking about. With that being said, I hope that there is something for you in this discussion, something for us all to take away and be better. So let's get to it. Motivation. Let's talk about it. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about staying motivated is when I make good art, or at least art better than I thought I could make it. There comes a kind of excitement when things are going as planned, and when things are looking good. But what kills that flow, what breaks that momentum, is that struggle, the inability to draw something good, and the frustration of the many failed attempts after. In short, that would mean the best way to stay motivated would be to make good art all the time. But that's not possible, not even for the best, because mistakes are bound to happen. It's part of growth and creativity. It is how we respond to our mistakes that will determine if we stay motivated or if we give in to our negative emotions. So let me remix that statement from before. Change it from what it was to something more reasonable. The best way to stay motivated would be to always grow at your craft, to always learn and improve. Eventually, we could all get bored of good art, and even insecure at the thought of being stagnant. But every time I create something I've never been able to create, or learn a new trick, I want to keep drawing, and see how much further I can go. On top of that, the more I learn, the easier the process becomes, making it a lot less intimidating when approaching a new drawing. Unfortunately, always learning and improving is not as simple as all that, at least not at first. The first thing artists think of when they think about improving is studying and drawing from life, which works of course, but it can be boring. Not all of us love the drawing process for the same reasons, and drawing from life or doing studies all the time can end up being a draining experience, taking the life out of drawing. Primarily for beginners. It is not until you learn a bit more about how you like to draw that you will be able to find the joy and motivation to do these seemingly boring studies. If studies bore you, a way to maintain motivation would be making studying fun, or doing it between the fun stuff you like to do. I personally focus on doing studies once a month on average, and the rest of the time I am applying learned techniques to every new drawing and using reference. Using reference when drawing something fun can mimic the experience of drawing from life. When you do figure drawing, you are referencing a pose, and if you do clothing studies, you are referencing the folds and the other elements that come with drawing clothes. But you can only get the true benefits from this if you actually take your time to understand the reference and not rush to the end result. Over time, you repeat poses and folds and you draw certain things over and over again with reference. They become part of your visual library. But all of that is for another video. For me, this method of growth makes drawing less of a chore and prevents me from burning out as quickly. And of course, studying is important. Forcing yourself to do tons of studying to get good faster is even possible with a lot of discipline. But on your own, you can also end up studying in the wrong direction. So why rush if you're only going to burn out and despise drawing? That's why it's also good to have friends that understand and support you. They don't have to be artists, but any social support is good. Eventually, art friends will be necessary, but right now the goal is to avoid loneliness. Not easy, I know. Even surrounded by people, one can feel lonely. I guess all I can say here is to not let art get in the way of relationships you might have or can potentially have. I've isolated myself so much in the name of art, and honestly now I don't know how to not be isolated. Sure, I'm antisocial for the most part, but that wears off from time to time. I can't tell you how to make friends or how to socialize, obviously, but I think we should all try our best to do so. Happiness makes it easier to do art, and support makes it easier to be happy. But on a similar note, try not to surround yourself with constant negativity. If someone is only ever negative with you, then limit your interactions with them. As a friend, you can help friends with negative issues, but if a friend is only ever bringing negative issues, you don't want to be weighed down by them if you can help it. Another way you can obtain positive energy would be by doing things you enjoy. Watching shows you love, reading books, playing games, or if you're really crazy, being active. Now, what else might disturb our motivation? Well, there's life. Life happens, and sometimes it happens hard. On top of that, art can be a very isolating and lonely endeavor, like I said before. Emotions of all kinds build up and weigh us down, along with any stress or fatigue from our day-to-day. It's natural, and yet so complicated. How can I stay motivated when life clearly doesn't want me drawing? I honestly don't know. Life is so unpredictable, and what you deal with may be beyond me. I, unfortunately, cannot solve all of our problems with a few cleverly placed words. I can only offer my experience and my thoughts. I'm no stranger to hard times. Struggling to deal with life's responsibilities, struggling to maintain relationships, to be social, being crushed by the weight of past mistakes, being consumed by stress, wanting to lay down in bed until all the bad things go away, wanting to fast forward to all the good stuff down the line. I felt the emptiness that comes from sacrificing everything, only to learn that it wasn't enough. The list goes on, and I don't know what you've been through, but we've all been knocked down. For most people, I would tell them to keep their art and life separate. Maybe it's easier to focus on life. If you have something that needs to be dealt with, then deal with it. Drawing can wait. The reality is that what happens to us in our real life, in our day-to-day, is more important than passion. It doesn't matter how much we want to draw if we can't pay bills or whatever it is you need to deal with. If dealing with that thing leaves you too exhausted to draw, then so be it. Now isn't the time. Come back to drawing when your life is in order. Don't combine the struggles of the art journey with the struggles of life. You'll only learn to despise art if you become too overwhelmed. But of course, this isn't how it would go for everyone. Some people find escape in drawing during hard times, and others see drawing as a way of life, the end goal that will bring them true happiness and career fulfillment. These people don't want to stop drawing, they just want the will to keep going. Yeah, these guys have problems and they're dealing with life, but drawing is part of that life, and without it, there is no reason to go through the struggle in the first place. This is where I sit. Art to me isn't a hobby, it's not a pastime I do for fun, even though, of course, I do have fun and I enjoy it very much. I do it as a job, as a storyteller, and I always have. I draw and I write now so that I can become good enough to get paid to do it later, and then I could do it even more. And I sound like an idiot now because I have nothing to show for it. But I move forward because I know as long as I keep pushing, things will turn out for the better. I could give up, and maybe I should have. But then what? That's my advice. If you ever feel like giving up, just ask yourself, then what? You go live a normal life, paycheck to paycheck, in a world getting more expensive to live in, watching others do what you wanted to do but couldn't because you threw in the towel. Right now I see people living my dream every day. I watch talented creators create for a living and enjoy their life to the fullest. But it doesn't bother me because I know I'm still on my journey, and I'm not giving in to the pressure. But I'll be honest, I can't see my future as much as I did when I was younger. I can't imagine myself beyond where I am now. In some instances, I don't believe in a future outside of my struggles. I just imagine an endless cycle. I imagine my failure because I can't see the greener side. But I do see my next steps. I see the start to something, and I'm running towards that. Looking back at it now, I'm probably not the best person to make this video. My motivations for continuing on all the time is mostly unclear, but they consist of a mixture of pain and fear. I can't imagine that I'd be happy in a world where I wasn't drawing and telling stories. I can't think of a purpose beyond what I've been dreaming of my entire life. I often feel I've come too far to give up now, and that I owe it to my past self to make my dreams come true. In any case, I feel I'm rambling to myself at this point. Might have reached a dead end with this topic, perhaps something to revisit later. Staying motivated isn't the same for everyone. And at the end of the day, some of us will have to push through so we can get things done, even when not motivated. There's a choice we make at some point where we decide how seriously we want to take this whole art thing. What are we willing to do, to sacrifice, in order to reach our goals? In some cases, it's time. In some cases, it's money. And in some cases, it's relationships or a normal social life. We even have to give up our other hobbies like gaming or watching anime, because our work never really ends. When we stop, we are still. Every moment we aren't doing this thing is a moment where we fail to make progress, where we prolong our success, and in some cases where we move further away from our dreams. So we have to do it, and we have to keep moving forward because it's what we want more than anything. Because we've already sacrificed so much, and because along the road there are people waiting to meet us, to congratulate us. People that will be happy to meet someone who understands their journey, happy to see what we do next, And maybe they want to create something amazing alongside us. You never know. So, let's not keep them waiting. I hope this video was helpful to at least one of you out there. Until we meet again, I would just like to say, welcome to Edenwick.